Hello, this is Jimmy Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. So let's get right into it. First we have many Texas prisons don't have air conditioning. This lawsuit seeks to change that from TPR.org, posted by Swamp Yankee Dan. And I said in response, I'm sure they want gourmet meals as well. You know, I'm pretty pro prisoner rights. My anti-death penalty stance is one of the biggest reasons I've never joined the GOP, but it's called prison for a reason, and that's my thoughts there. I definitely do think, if people want to spend taxpayer money for prison air conditioning and food, I think they should be able to, but, there's a lot of other things to spend taxpayer money on, and that's important to remember as well. I do think the government shouldn't be giving prisoners cruel and unusual punishment. But that being said, people survived before air conditioning, and that's important to remember as well. So that's my thoughts on that issue. No one's entitled to air conditioning because it requires labor of others. Nothing that requires labor of others is a right, and that's what I think there. The next we have the National Labor Relations Board under scrutiny from Lemon Limelight, and they posted SCOTUS blog provides a case view of Starbucks Court v. McKinney. Emphasis added on Tuesday in the Supreme Court will hear argument in a closely watched case arising from Starbucks firing of 7 employees. The union Starbucks Workers United filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, which went to federal court and won a preliminary injunction. The legal issue in this case is largely a procedural question. What standard should courts use to determine whether to issue such a preliminary injunction? And I don't know if I'm going to read the rest of it, but yeah, I definitely do think, if Starbucks workers want to form a union, I think they should be able to. But with that being said, if Starbucks isn't happy with that, I guess they have a right to terminate them, I guess, as well. Personally, I'm pretty pro unions as long as they're voluntary, but I do think all parties need to consent to them, and that does include the corporate. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, why does this strike even more true now, from Ragnar OKXG, and that's from Facebook.com. It was a post by U.S. Federal Department of Propaganda, and it's a post from the Random Thoughts subreddit. Ask Chant AI to sing the opposite of the Star Spangled Banner. I'll type what it proves here. Oh, the shadows we cast in twilight gloom. Ah, the land that divides us, our hearts find no room. The stripes of discord, the field of disdain, we march to the dissonance, a fractured refrain. With no gleaming stars, just darkness above. No unity we find, no binding love. Where freedom falters and justice bends, in the shattered land where hope descends, the flag of division we unfurl high, symbol of discord, with where truth and trust die, no land of the free, no home of the brave, only chains of, and I think it cuts off, only chains of discord, a nation enslaved. And yeah. So I said that it's been true to varying extents for about 2 centuries now. People are just paying more attention thanks to social media, and that's my thoughts on that issue. That was my response. Then we have RFK Jr. defeats Democrats' ballot challenge from Breaking Points on YouTube, and I posted that, and I said if I didn't go as hard Libertarian over the past cycle, I would probably go for RFK Jr. since we have tried Trump and Biden and both of them didn't work. But after taking the gold pill, you just realize that he's just another statist in sheep's clothing. He's made a lot of anti-gun statements and is for the government getting more involved in environmental matters. So, I think, he's just going to be another statist who wants to push his agenda on people like all the presidents really do. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And we have, amazing to watch, the print media in Australia take the side of government censors who want to keep Australians in the dark about important events in Australia. The business of the news business is apparently now censor rather than report the news, from Jay Bhattacharya on Twitter, and I posted that, and that was him sharing a picture of a quote tweeting the West Australian. Today's front page of the Western Australian, it's an X over Elon Musk, and it says, X marks loser, Elon Musk eat his words, his court demands his company complies with policy order. And I said, It always has been. Social media finally lets people see it. The media always was more to control the narrative rather than inform people, and now people are finally seeing the media for what it is. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, there's nothing that gives them the authority to demand I remove a video from my correctional account, but they are, from Thomas Massey on Twitter. And that was him posting about how he was going to get fined if he didn't remove the video of all the Democrats waving the Ukraine flag in the House of Representatives. And I said, just goes to show you that it really doesn't matter what the rules are, it matters what the narrative is. Looks like they're backing off now. And that's my thought on that issue. You know, I shared a tweet. Looks like they are going to back off of that, but it's going to show you that the narrative is really what matters, not really what the rules are. Then we have, was the U.S. dropping the atom bombs on Japan morally justified? And I said, inspired by the recent debate on Twitter from Tucker Carlson saying it wasn't, I agree with him there, voted no. So currently we have 6 yes votes, 15 no votes, and 1 abstention vote, and that's, I definitely would say they 100% weren't morally justified, especially since they killed civilians. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, remember when Colbert convinced millions of his viewers that cessation of so-called net neutrality would cause the end of the internet, leading someone to violently threaten at Ajit Pai's family? Turns out the internet didn't end. From Avik Roy on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, it was the current thing, and then people moved on. It's a competitor with whatever the issue of the day is. You know, I personally was for net neutrality, but, you know, I moved on like everyone else. And, you know, I definitely think, you know, it didn't have too much effect. You know, Maddie Clark says here, it literally did. We now call it Web 2.0. It's completely dominated by a few large company sites, as well as was actually predicted. And I said, is that because net neutrality is repealed, or because that's the direction that was trending anyway? It's like Tumblr banning porn and the exodus from it seemingly turning Reddit into another Tumblr. I think that there might be some effect, but I definitely think it's been overstated, and it's the direction that things are mostly headed in anyway. And plus, you are still free to visit whatever smaller websites you want to. And that's my thoughts there. Then we have the MAGA attacks on Trump's jury are part of the anti-democracy push from MediaMatters.org from FuckTimBack6969, and I commented, Media Matters is DNC propaganda. I can't fucking stand Trump and how much of a blowhard that gets everyone riled up he is, but that doesn't just mean I'm going to start trusting stuff like MSNBC. You know, Trump isn't a friend of liberty, but neither is Media Matters, and that's my thoughts there. Then we have Protect Our People, Defend the Border from Stone Harbor 74. And that's a crosspost from the We're Fighting For subreddit. And it's a AI generated text, and she has signs as only traitors help invaders. And I personally know I'm more on the open border side, but that being said, if people want to think that, I think they should be able to. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, you can't let the status normies get you down, and that's a self-post that I made. I said, just because society isn't accepting of your ideology doesn't make it incorrect. They hated Jesus because he told the truth as well. And that's my thoughts there. You can't let the other people get you down. You gotta stand up and fight for what you believe in, even if everyone else thinks it's wrong. And that's my thoughts. That's what I think there. Then we have the Libertarian handshake from Nathan R.H., and they said, is when you question each other libertarianness, the rules are proper nerd rules, since it takes some intellectualism to back up any claim of liberty in the modern day. Nerd debate must always be right-handed. The goal is never to win. That would mean you would have more info than the other nerd. The treasurer is to receive information. The winner leaves disappointed. Fools don't even know that there can't be winning in nerd debate. You must always high hand. You give information freely so you can get theirs to come out. If you're wrong, you must admit and self-correct anyway. Otherwise, you prove you can't detect evidence. Nerds know that they will be wrong. Fools think they are trying to prove themselves right. Nerds learn by teaching, and libertarian means power to the people. And I guess I would agree with that, you know. You shouldn't be, everything's not just about winning, you know. It's about learning. And I guess I kind of would agree with that. You know, you got to learn about other people and other information rather than just be concerned about winning everything. And I would agree with that, yeah. Then we have Joe Biden is the best president we've ever had from Mark Hamill on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said in response, if you despise Trump that much, fine, but don't pretend Biden is anything but an anti-Trump placeholder. And that's my thoughts on that issue. You know, believe whatever you want, but that's my personal opinion there, you know. Joe Biden's really just a placeholder over anything else. And that's my fault, yeah. Then we have how GM tricked millions of drivers into being spied on, including me, from NewYorkTimes.com by Patan Furtan. And yeah, I definitely don't think that's good. I don't think we should be spying on people, whether it's the government or a private corporation. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the evidence in favor of charter schools in America is strengthened from Lemon Limelight, and they said from a recent letter editorial in the Economist, the evidence in favor of charter schools in America is strengthened. The theory underpinning charter schools is that schools should be freed from the bureaucracy of the public school system and be able to hire and fire teachers based on merit. If they have these freedoms and are held accountable, then the benefits will show up in better results. The idea attracted Republican support, but it was controversial on the left. Teachers' unions opposed charter schools, arguing that they drew resources away from other public schools. When charter succeeded, the union said it was only because they attracted the brightest pupils or the most motivated parents. Although fine-grained studies were encouraging, the broad evidence for charters was disappointing. Partly as a result, the unions won the argument on the left. Meanwhile, the right turned away from charters and fixated instead on wokeness and on giving parents vouchers. Despite all this, charter networks have quietly expanded and experimented. The latest study from Stanford's Center for Research on Education Outcomes compared 1.9 million charter school students with a control sample in 2014 and 2019. They found that the mass of the average charter student advanced in an extra 6 days each year compared with one at a traditional public school, and by 16 days in reading, over time, that adds up to a big difference. And, yeah, I guess I would agree with that. A lot of people seem to be very anti-charter schools these days, but, yeah, I think if you want to send your kids to charter school, then you should be able to. If you want to send them to public school, I think you should be able to. If you want to send them to homeschool, I think you should be able to. If you don't want to school them at all, I think you should be able to. And, that's my thoughts on that issue. Justify whatever you feel like, as long as, no one else is being harmed. Then we have, you can now buy a flame-throwing robot dog for under $10,000. I wonder if the ATF will kill this dog too, from ArsTechnica.com by Doctor Who 07. And I said, might as well be the next POTUS at this point, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, poll, is the U.S. world power a good thing? And I voted no. I would rather live in a country that was more in the background, like Costa Rica or Sao Tome and Principe. You would probably get a lot less propaganda being pushed on you if you lived there. And the poll is currently 4 votes for yes, 7 votes for no, 1 abstention. And I guess, yeah, that's I personally would say that, I'd rather not have any world powers, like MK Search commented, world powers should not exist. And that's my thoughts there. We shouldn't have any single country dominating global affairs like we do, with the U.S., Russia, China, or any of the mega the superpowers, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Elon Musk, dead at 52, says there is no need for misinformation laws by Swamp Yankee Dan, and I said, he's correct. People need to come to their own conclusions and not only government-approved ones. He's obviously not dead, but, I think if you want to share information that he is dead, you should be able to. I don't want to control what you can and can't say. And that's my thoughts there. Believe whatever you want to, just don't force those beliefs on other people if they don't consent to it. Then we have American tourists facing possible 12-year prison sentence after ammo found in luggage in Turks and Caicos, from CBSNews.com by Ninja Lover. And I definitely would agree that, you shouldn't arrest people if they don't actively violate the NAP, and they didn't seem to violate the NAP there, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Biden signs TikTok ban bill into law, starting the clock for ByteDance device it, from TheVerge.com by Dr. Who 07. And I said I think it will end up being sold rather than banned, but I guess we have to wait and see what happens. And I definitely do think the government it's definitely the government giving itself too much power there. Then we have LP National alluding that cheap gas is more important than Ukrainians' freedom, and that's a tweet from LP National on Twitter, and it was a picture of I think that's Frodo from Lord of the Rings. He's just looking around, and he says freedom from Ukraine is more important than cheap gas. He's just like, bruh. And I said I didn't comment on that one, but yeah, each person has different values. If you want to think Ukraine's freedom is most important, that's fine. If you want to think cheap gas is most important, that's fine. If you want to, I personally think, Ukraine should fight for its freedom as long as it wants to, but, with that being said, I definitely think that it's kind of a proxy war between the U.S. and Russia, and that's, I definitely don't think the U.S. is intention up here, so that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, if you need God not to rape, you shouldn't be around families or polite society, from Boyovich, and that's a self-post that they made. And I said what I said, and furthermore combine this woman's frenetic fixation against LGBT. It says everything about your nature, it seems. It says keep your way from your children because you cannot be trusted. If any crime you commit can be simply prayed away with no reward for efforts on its own, we find that anyone never trust you. Honestly, we should ban the Bible because it grooms kids to shirk individual responsibility and joy. And I said, it's not that people can't be moral without religion. It's just that when you believe in nothing, you can justify doing the worst things. People have justified shitty things using religions as well. But when you believe in nothing, what cause really is there to be moral? And that's my fault on that issue. I also like what BKHB here says. The religion of statism, that's what it is. A religion based upon faith that some people have the divine right to violently control others is the oldest and deadliest. I would agree there, in a lot of sense. The biggest problem today is that the church, the state has become the church. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And then we have FTC votes to ban non-compete clauses from Sand.com by Ragnar OKXG. And I think that's a little overly authoritarian, but I personally don't really care for forcing people to do what things that you want them to do. I don't really care for non-compete. I think that's when you when you won't I don't really know, to be honest, but I think that's like you can't work at multiple competitors at the same time, and I think you should be able to do that if you feel like it, and the employees of the heads of both companies are fine with it, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have U.S. is reviewing risks of China's use of RSCVE chip technology from Yahoo.com by Frosty Slawman. And I definitely don't trust any authoritarian government like China or the U.S. for that matter. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And then we have what essentially the same thing can be seen vastly differently by people. And I said, that's the self-post I made. I said, the example I'm going to give is horse racing versus greyhound racing. Regardless of your thoughts on animal welfare, it's clear that our society has stigmatized one of them much more than the other, despite them being essentially the same thing. Although I guess jockeys don't ride greyhounds like they do horses. It's a big reason why the number of greyhound racetracks in the U.S., two currently, both in West Virginia, is much less than the number of horse racing tracks, probably somewhere in the hundreds. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And I think we're going to wrap up there. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.